What is up, my cutouts? Cardboard Ninja here coming at you, part of the Hyperborea update. Before we begin, I'd like to say sorry for the lateness of this video. Additionally, I'm sick and traveling, blah, 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 excuse. Let's just jump right on it. They say this is the final part of the dev vlog update before this thing gets released, which is good to know. There's going to be a new epic heavy machine gun, the Gungnir. Uh, it's the opposite of a machine gun. Looks like a machine gun. Let's see here. It looks like the No-Thung. It's a fairly small weapon in height, low rate of fire, high one-time damage and durability. Rotates freely, so it's not a fixed firing weapon, so it's not a front-facing machine gun, obviously. So as the machine gun heats up, rate of fire decreases, but the spread of damage, or the spread becomes almost unknowable. You shoot slower, but gain more accuracy. Huh. This feels very much like if you are a tap-fire machine gun kind of player, but you don't want. That's it. It doesn't seem to do more damage, get more accurate, and it doesn't say starting accuracy 4 necessarily. This might be the only doesn't necessarily. If you heard me sniffle, that's because I'm sick. If you compare the Gungnir with other epic weapons such as the Spectre, Tackler, and the Protector, the new weapon has higher damage accuracy. It's just better than the Spectre 2, the Tackler, and the Protector. Well, the way that I would see, I'd take that with a grain of salt. If ever they do that, usually what ends up happening if ever they open up with something like that, they're going to roll that back in a later update. They're like, whoops, what we meant to do was have it have similar, if not the exact same stats as these other weapons. So be very careful with that. Epic cabin, the Hugin. Epic, so not legendary. It is a heavy cabin. Let's see. This new heavy cabin is really, really interestingly shaped. It's 8 pins wide, 7 pins long, and 4 pins high. That's actually really, really, really small for a heavy cabin. Really small. Let's see here. It is the lightest heavy cabin, so whatever our lightest heavy cabin is right now, which I think is the Echo, it's going to be lighter than that. It's going to be the fastest heavy cabin, which means it'll be 65 and 70 kilometers an hour, which would bother me only because that means they nerfed the Echo and the Icebox's speed for no reason. Despite its smaller mass, its durability is comparable to Humpback, Savior, and Icebox. Have the lowest parameters in tonnage and mass, which probably puts it on par. Most recent cabin that is escaping my bad at this. Anyway, considering the perked vehicles will probably cabin probably won't carry an unbearable amount of parts. Each overheated weapon in conjunction with this cabin will activate one special charge, maximum of 3 charges. Each charge at the cost of temporarily reducing the power and speed of the cabin will boost the cooling of weapons. The effects of several charges will stack. Interesting. Recommend everyone to try this with other coolers. Okay. And they're saying that this is going to work with the Hugin and the No-Thung. So earlier, the No-Thung, for those of us who don't remember, which you probably do, is a weapon that's coming out in the new patch that is going to the first 5 shots after overheating the gun, overheating, cooling down, reloading basically the gun, do plus 100%. So assuming that this gives 10% cooling per charge, that's a guess. That would mean that it would give 30% cooling rate increase, but I would assume somewhere in the power decrease. Again, not numbers, but combine that with coolers and you could get your guns to cool off really fast. So this is basically self-synergy with that gun that's coming. As a minor aside, and this has to do with the CK update, which looks like it's going to be a CK update to the Omnibox, this functions very similarly to the Omnibox. Right now, you can activate the Omnibox to give yourself 15% faster cooling or reload, but penalize your top speed and power because natural perk and its base activated perk is higher top speed and power. This is doing the exact same thing except it's mandatory. For every weapon that you have that's basically reloading, it gives you faster reloading speed. It's not reloading speed, it's cooling, but it's the same thing. It's reloading for the overheating weapons. But it's mandatory. You don't get to choose when you have the power and the speed. Instead, it takes away your power and speed. You're reloading. That's pretty interesting. It could be good. A lot of interesting play with Gravistars, the weapon that already does this. basically. I believe that would be pretty much the Nothung, Ravistars, and not much else off the top of my head. I don't think anything else has a cooling effect that gives you something on reload other than those weapons. But it's still not bad. Uh, top speed, I'd guesstimate between 570. It's very, very low heavy cabin. I mean, let's say the hump. New CKs, obviously, for the Omnibox. Looks good. And drones. That actually looks pretty cool, too. Yeah, interesting. One other thing that they decided to note is the legendary cabin with the drone control perk announced in the first part of the blog when it's remember how everyone was like, "Hey, wait a minute, a heavy drone cab? That's stupid. They're not going to release that. That's dumb. That sounds like a dumb idea." Do you know who also thinks that? They do, because they changed it from a heavy cabin to a medium cabin. It's pointless because I mean you're dealing with 11 energy, you're dealing with a top speed of 65 kilometers an hour. Like what droner is going to escape from that reaming that's going to come your way? There's no way. You can't drop your drones, you can't drop your turrets and escape. They'll just simply kill you. Uh, yeah, it was a really bad idea, and they rolled it back. They're like, no, how about instead we're just gonna make it a medium cabin like the call, and see how that rocks. So it's now medium cabin as well. All right, well this is their last update before the Hyperborea drops, and I'm intrigued. It seems like a very very machine gun heavy update. You got the Gungnir, you got the Nothung, you got of course the new generator, which is going to be pretty boss Skags itself, which for brand new players is going to, as I said before, really, really help out new players getting to end game very rapidly. Because the before getting Apollo generator just a pain in the butt, to be honest. So that's huge. Other than that, new structural parts, as I stated, and in my previous updates, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I don't know. I'm not a machine gun fan, to be honest. If you want my personal opinions on how I feel about this patch, I'm not overly excited, to be honest. Normally, I'm pretty excited for new stuff that drops, but this stuff doesn't necessarily appeal to me in particular because I don't play machine guns, and none of these weapons, none of them, the Gungnir, the no, none of those weapons are going to truly compete with the Punisher. They just aren't. Punisher is very good. It should, and again, it's a relic, so it should outperform them. But it's still going to outperform them to such a dramatic degree that these weapons are going to be good in standard play, but they're not going to be able to truly compete against in CW. I mean, it might be a bargain basement CW kind of thing. Also, Epic Machine Gun Gungnir. Again, as I said, this is the Tapfire machine gun for people who have, to be honest. So if you are like played arbiters and auroras, stuff like that, because of the fact that hurt because of how many times you tap left mouse button, gun go pew pew. The Gungnir is basically equivalent of that. Instead of having a tap, you hold down left mouse button. It becomes more accurate as you shoot, but this thing doesn't actually damage as it shoots. So probably the reason why it has higher base damage than the Vector, Tackler, and Vector, but we'll see how it plays. The fact that fire, but it's probably going to be a decent weapon strip, but it's not going to be something that I'm personally going to build four of to build a. As for the Nothung, probably the same. I'll take whatever they give me in the battle pass if I choose to buy it, but other than that, I'm probably not going to go out of my way machine gun either, because in reality, this is just a tapfire machine. It's it clearly don't want to put it on. You want to make sure this thing possible. If it only fires 5 shots on its own, thumbs up. You just go 5 reload, 5 reload. Who knows? If you have to fire 20 shots, then this gun gets obviously clearly worse. But that's all based on shots you fire before you get plus 100 bonus. I don't know how shot. I believe the Punisher does. Sorry for not knowing this off the top of my head. Shot. So does out the 109. That would mean that that's a guess, by the way. I don't know the damage of this, but based on other weapons, I want this to outdamage clearly. That would be a so I would assume that the damage base is somewhere in the could be wrong, but I'm pretty good at guessing damage. All right, well, that's the last update before this thing actually drops. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Thank you very much for subscribing and following my content, etc. I hope you guys all have a pleasant 2023.